Today we're going back to one of Remedy's most mysterious universes. Control's sequel is officially coming, and the title is now locked in as Control Resonant. If you loved Control, this video is the full everything package episode. Release window, platforms, where the story connects, how the gameplay is changing, and every new system we saw at State of Play is all here. Because this is not just Control 2. Remedy is rewriting the formula from scratch. Before we start, the usual reminder. If you like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps a ton. If you're ready, let's begin. Control Resonant is coming in 2026. There's no exact day or month yet, but that is the official window. And the platform list is wide. PS5, Xbox Series XS, PC on Steam and Epic, and Mac. Yes, Mac is officially on the list. That alone shows Remedy is aiming for a bigger scale release plan this time. So what exactly is Control Resonant? The clearest answer is this. It's a continuation of Control, but this time we play as Dylan Faden. Jesse's brother, the troubled and darker figure we remember from the first game, is now at the center of the story, and the scale has grown. We're leaving the closed corridors of the oldest house and moving into a space where Manhattan is on the edge of a paranatural collapse, with a heavier focus on outdoor environments and reality itself coming apart. So Control's reality is bending, feeling is no longer inside one building. It's happening across an entire city. But there's a critical point people keep misunderstanding. Just because the trailer made Manhattan look massive does not mean this is open world. Remedy specifically clarified this: it is not open world. The game moves through separate but large and expansive zones, big areas with side activities, hidden encounters, and optional exploration inside each one. This makes perfect sense for Remedy, because they can control atmosphere while still rewarding curiosity without losing the pacing of the main story. And the clearest example of that zone approach is the first named area, the West Incursion Zone. Remedy describes it as a slice of Manhattan where architecture folds in on itself, gravity gets strange, and your sense of direction breaks. So it's not just a bigger map, the space itself works like a puzzle. If the oldest house in Control 1 felt like a living organism, here Manhattan will behave like a living area that has slipped out of reality. And this is where Control Resonant's real promise begins. Bigger scale, more aggressive reality fracture. Now let's get to the biggest gameplay difference for Dylan. In this game, feeling powerful is not just about dealing damage. It's about controlling space through movement. The kit Remedy showed makes Dylan feel like a momentum character. With Reach, you can leap and latch onto places that should be unreachable, where the rules of physics are broken. With gravity anomalies, you can turn areas where gravity flips and orientation collapses into an advantage. And Shift lets you break your route mid-fight, reposition instantly, and rebuild the rhythm of combat. When these three abilities combine, the Control 1 telekinesis dominance feeling becomes more acrobatic, more agile, and more aggressive, like a flow-based combat game. And at the center of that flow is one weapon, Aberrant. This is not a classic one-form, one-job weapon. It changes shape and becomes a different identity based on your combat style. The forms we have seen so far are hammer, blades, scythe, and fists. Remedy also says there are more, but they are not showing them yet. The design goal is clear. As you progress, you do not just get stronger. You gain more options. And when those options combine with Dylan's movement kit, the combat becomes more layered, more like swap forms, break movement lines, chain abilities, rather than just press one button. On the progression side, it still comes back to the same core statement. Remedy says this game is built around creating perfect combat flow. Dylan's toolkit keeps expanding. New aberrant forms, new supernatural abilities, and new combos unlock over time. And on top of that, there's a deeper customization layer. Systems that let you empower your favorite moves and loadouts you set before going into combat. That loadout idea matters because it does not force one correct playstyle. You can build a more airborne approach or a more ground-aggressive approach. In short, Control Resonant takes Remedy's classic narrative foundation and places a clearer action RPG backbone on top of it. So how do we unlock these powers? This is where the main enemy type that shares the game's name comes in, the Resonants. These are not standard enemies. They feel like the heart of the game's boss hunt loop. Remedy describes them as beings that once held major power, then got corrupted by the same mysterious force now threatening reality. And the key part is this: defeating Resonance is one of the main ways Dylan's arsenal grows. So beating bosses is not just for the story. It is also a core path to new abilities. If this system works, the game's tempo becomes addictive. Explore, power up, hunt a boss, unlock something new, go deeper. Let's go back to zone design, because the biggest question is always this: if it is not open world, how free will it feel? Remedy's answer is simple. A strong main story pushes you forward, but each zone leaves a lot of room for exploration. Side activities, hidden encounters, optional discoveries, so you can follow the main story straight, or you can dive into the zones and dig into what is behind this collapse. This fits Control's DNA, because Control has always been small but dense. Resonant is bringing that to Manhattan scale. Bigger spaces, but not random. Designed, hidden, surprising. Do not think of the story as Control 1 again, but bigger. Remedy directly frames this as two siblings, two different journeys. The first game was Jesse's story, searching for Dylan, entering the oldest house, and facing the darker side of the FBC. Resonant is positioned like the other half of that story. Dylan, kept locked away for years, is now pushed into the field, and this time he is trying to save himself while searching for Jesse. The roles have flipped. In the first game, Jesse was chasing Dylan. Now Dylan is chasing Jesse. That alone signals a tonal shift, because a Control story through Dylan's eyes can naturally become more internal, more fragile, and darker. The dramatic engine is clear. Dylan is not just a hero trying to save the world. In Remedy's own framing, Dylan's goal has 3 layers. Survive the end-of-the-world level threat in Manhattan, confront his dangerous powers, and in the process, search for redemption while reaching Jesse. So Resonant's story will likely be less a rescue mission and more a fight to rebuild Dylan's identity. The Control universe loves psychological pressure. Put a trauma-heavy character like Dylan in the center, and the story automatically becomes more personal. So, who is the institution in the middle of this? Of course, the Federal Bureau of Control. But this time, it looks like we're going to see the FBC in an even more cornered state, because the battleground is not the corridors of the oldest house. It's Manhattan. Remedy calls it the new battleground, and the city becomes a nightmare, where cosmic forces bend reality, twist gravity, and even turn the sky unrecognizable. That creates a different feeling. The FBC may come across less like the agency that controls, and more like the agency that has lost control. And pushing Dylan into the field becomes critical. You are sending someone who is held like a prisoner for years into the biggest crisis imaginable. It is ethically dark and narratively very Remedy. At this point, that voice we hear alongside Dylan becomes one of the story's main veins, Zoe the Vera. Zoe is an FBC field agent, and she operates like Dylan's handler in the field, guiding him, feeding information, explaining context. But she is not just a radio mission giver NPC. Remedy specifically highlights that Zoe's relationship with Dylan is important enough to push him into questioning who he is, what he can do, and how he can hold on to his humanity in the middle of this crisis. That is a strong move, because Dylan needs a real counterbalance. Someone who reminds him what makes him human, or someone who triggers him and pushes him further into the abyss. Zoe's role has the drama to carry both possibilities. And here is good news. Remedy is also designing this game as a new entry point, so even if you did not play Control 1, you can jump into Resonant. The story is built to stand on its own. But of course, for people who know Control 1, the familiar echoes, Jesse's traces, and the mysteries connecting the siblings will hit harder. This is smart because the universe is expanding and they need new players, but they also have to give returning fans that the connections you care about are here feeling. Resonance seems to be aiming for that exact balance. A self-contained story, but deeply tied to Control's core bloodstream. Now, let's clarify the action-adventure RPG angle, because this is one of the biggest differences between Control Resonant and Control 1. Remedy is not building progression around a simple level up and numbers go up system. They are tying it to intentionally constructing your combat rhythm. As you unlock new abilities, new aberrant forms, and new combos, Dylan's playstyle grows layer by layer and you shape your own style. And it is not just I learned a new attack. With customization systems, you can enhance your favorite moves. Before combat, you build a loadout and choose which abilities and which weapon forms you are bringing. The game wants to turn you into someone who thinks, I need air control here. I need close-range pressure here, instead of entering every zone and every boss the same way. There is also an important balance here. Even though Remedy is calling it an action RPG, they do not want it to be a brutal Souls-like. That is why they highlight this. There is no parry system. There is no constant back-and-forth duel philosophy against one enemy. That reveals the combat mindset. Control Resonant will likely push you away from chess like one-on-one duels and toward controlling space in the middle of larger threats, breaking positions, and blending movement with aggression. Dylan's Reach, Shift, and Gravity Anomalies kit supports that. This is less about memorizing parry timing and more about building flow and not breaking it. The zone design continues that flow philosophy too. We said it is not open world, but that does not mean narrow corridors and a purely linear path. Remedy's promise is bigger separate regions, each packed with optional exploration, hidden encounters, side activities, and content you will miss if you do not look. And in zones like West Incursion Zone, the environment becomes more distorted. Architecture folds, gravity drifts, your sense of direction fractures. In that kind of space, exploration is not just a map marker and a pickup. It is more like there is something hidden here, but physics is lying. How do I reach it? If the oldest house was a character in Control 1, Manhattan will act like a playable space with intent in Resonant. And this is where the Resonants show their real impact. They are not just big bosses, they are major milestones that expand your build. When you hunt and defeat them, you gain new combat abilities. Progression is tied to both story and mechanics. That can create a powerful loop. Explore, find hidden encounters, earn resources and customization, hunt a resonant, unlock something new, enter the next zone with more confidence. If Remedy scales this well, Control Resonant could become the kind of game you want to return to, not just finish once and leave, because you want to test different builds and different styles. Control Resonant is not just a sequel. It feels like Remedy's most ambitious answer to the question of how far the Control universe can expand. Dylan Faden's darker and more fragile perspective, Manhattan's paranatural collapse, a zone-based structure that still feels free, and an action RPG system built around perfect combat flow. Put it all together, and this game is not just scaling up Control's formula. It is trying to redefine it. We do not know what kind of reality is waiting for us in 2026, but one thing is clear. Resonant will either be Remedy's boldest move or its riskiest experiment. And that is exactly why it has already become one of the most intriguing projects out there for us as players. Now, it's your turn. What are you most curious about in Control Resonant? Dylan's story, the Manhattan zones, or the other Aberrant forms they are still hiding? Write it in the comments and let's build theories together. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.